Video game marketing is an extremely delicate balancing act. You have to tap dance on the line between cringe and effective. You need something that'll speak to the gamer inside each and every one of us. Tickle that sensitive gamer gene embedded deep in the DNA of every red-blooded gaming barbarian on the planet. And oftentimes video game marketing falls flat. But there are some that succeed and get people interested in the property. Above all else, you need to get people interested in checking out the game and learning more about it. And yesterday, I saw one of the most unintentionally hilarious video game marketing moments ever. This came from a showcase of an upcoming game, wasn't even meant to really advertise the product outside of the community that was already excited for it, but there's one scene that has transcended the community and made it into the mainstream soup. The very wide beef stew of the cyberspace. And it's a scene from Baldur's Gate 3. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about because I imagine a good chunk of you have already seen it. It is chaotic. I don't even know if video games were meant to evolve to this level here. The technology it's at a frightening stage that we're able to capture an experience like this. It reminds me of a quote from Jurassic Park. Your scientists were too preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Or something to that effect.
Look, I mean, at this point, it's not our responsibility anymore.
Yeah, no, you did this.
We have given every single opportunity.
Now, I know I'm throwing you into the pool here without any water wingies and no context behind what's going on, so I'll just fill you in. Basically, this is the section of the showcase where they were going over romance and how deep the romance system is in Baldur's Gate 3. So this is a scene between two characters that are about to fuck. And just like a Darman video title, the ending will shock you. This is going in a direction I don't think the Lord ever foresaw for our species to reach. I can't show the full unedited section here because the game is... It doesn't pull any punches. It lets the whole hog hang out. They've got full wiener here, and it even has nutsack jiggle physics. One of the characters falls over, and you see his nutsack flash the camera and jiggle a little bit. So it's pretty innovative with penis simulations here, and it just lets you see the whole kit and caboodle. So I'm going to cut around those bits and pieces.
I mean, it's still me pressing the buttons.
When I first saw this clip, it was watching a streamer named CoCarnage, cover the event, and I had the same reaction as the squirrel. I was shocked that this is a scene in a video game. You get to fuck a bear. Like an actual bear. And Co brought up a great point. He kept asking, is this even legal? Because, I mean, technically it's bestiality. You know, anime just barely gets away with, you know, saying like, that character, that lolly that looks like a 6-year-old girl is actually a 3,000-year-old vampire from hell. So yeah, that's okay. That kind of shit. And fundamentally, that's kind of the same energy here where it's not an actual bear, it's a druid shapeshifting into a bear. So it's not like technically bestiality, I guess. I don't know. But this scene had me fucking stunned, and then I couldn't stop giggling. Because the bear like rolls up on the guy with a smile on his face. It looks like Freddy Fazbear gone rogue. Like Freddy Fazbear on Molly. Also, I just recognized that I unintentionally dropped a bear pun. I want everyone to know that that wasn't on purpose, and I'm sorry for it. I don't want anyone to think that I intentionally make fucking puns. That would be embarrassing, and that would be beyond tragic. So, purely a coincidence, and I want to make that clear. Anyway, so you've got the horny Berenstain Bear here, or excuse me, Berenstain Bear, since we're living in some kind of alternate timeline. That's not even a Mandela effect. It was absolutely Berenstain Bears growing up. Something happened to the timelines, but we're not here to get into quantum physics. So you have like the Berenstain Bear coming up. He's got a smile on his face, and then it cuts out, you know, cuts to the squirrel and then cuts out saying not safe for stream. So I'm not entirely sure if it actually shows like a full sex scene between a man and a bear. I'm not positive. I would imagine it probably doesn't. That was probably just a joke from production here. It probably in the game goes to the squirrel and then cuts forward to like after coitus, post coitus scene. But I'm not entirely sure. I'm not exactly a gambling man, but I wouldn't feel safe putting any amount of money on this being like not censored. You know what I mean? Like, imagine the full game comes out and you just do all the same dialogue options, get to this same point, but then the scene is just like full throttle, uncensored, adult rated. Smokey the Bear's not out here looking for fires. He's out here looking to fuck. And now this moment kind of became their unintentional marketing tool because the scene was so shocking that it actually gained a lot of steam on Reddit and Twitter, with a lot of people talking about it, either laughing about it or being disgusted by it. I do imagine this is probably the first big budget game that has anything like this in it, outside of like furry porn or something. So obviously this was going to start a big conversation, though it doesn't seem like it was ever designed to be a like marketing moment for the game. This was really supposed to just be a community showcase for everyone excited for Baldur's Gate 3. And now they've got the absolute most outrageous piece of marketing content I think I've ever seen for a game. Like, a lot of people that have never heard of Baldur's Gate 3 are now being exposed to Baldur's Gate 3 through this scene. So this just ended up generating a lot of buzz for the game. Now, of course, only time will tell if it's actually, like, effective or if it'll improve sales. I don't know exactly what the conversion rate's going to be from people seeing Baldur's Bear here into being a player of the game. Like, I don't know how many people are going to see the scene and be like, you know what? I've got a pre-order. I need to get in on this action ASAP. No telling. All I do know is that this did put Baldur's Gate out there in a pretty big way for the last like 24 hours. But I wanted to talk about this obviously because it's silly and goofy, A, but B, I'm always fascinated with video game marketing in general. Companies will spend millions of dollars coming up with optimal marketing materials in order to try and pitch their game to people that are otherwise oblivious to it. And sometimes that leads to fucking horrific, awful garbage. In fact, I would argue that's most of video game marketing. You have like incredible flops such as Dead Space, your mom won't like this game. Mommy don't approve of no violent Dead Space. You don't want to disappoint your mom, do you? Here's a pre-order link just in case. Your mom would not approve of Dead Space. That kind of stupid shit. And companies spend so much money in order to make this material to reach a big audience. And now Baldur's Gate 3 reached probably a bigger audience than any marketing material they would actually plan to create through just 1 minute and a half scene that they put in their showcase in order to entertain their fans. So they got a lot of bang for their buck here, I think, in terms of getting eyes on the project. Now, I'm just wondering if it's actually going to help the game or maybe hurt it. I'm not really sure. All I do know is that a lot more people are familiar with Baldur's Gate 3 now as a result of that moment. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's it. See ya.